Turn with me in your Bibles to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Carter, if you would kick up that. We're on 1 Corinthians chapter 4, part 10. Changing gears. We're going to be talking now about the master builder. The master builder in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. The Bible talks frequently about God, the master builder. It says that we are His masterwork. We're His masterpiece. We are His workmanship. All right, let's go on, Carter. Let's get started here. In chapter 3, verse 9, it's a verse that we've already read a couple of times, but I want to bring it to your mind and let you look at it in your scriptures and look at it in the translation that you prefer, whatever you like. Some people might criticize you for having a certain translation. Some will only prefer just one and no other. But I like to, good and godly people have worked over the centuries to study the Word of God in its original languages to help us understand. So I believe their work is worthy of our attention. There are some bad translations and some very good translations. In chapter 3 of 1 Corinthians, Paul the Apostle writes to the people at Corinth. Now, keep in mind, if you go to this area of Greece today, there is no historically valid claim of any church there to be this church. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. There have been efforts to trace its history, but no ruins or documents other than the biblical documents. Nothing in the area archaeologically would prove that this is the place or this is the site. Certainly, the church no longer exists. At one time, it closed its doors. All of the members left or they drifted away. This is a church that no longer exists. He says, we are co-laborers with Christ. Now think about that. We are co-laborers with Jesus. We work together. We are co-workers. We work with Jesus. We are co-laborers with God. And whatever God's doing, God is including us. You are what God is growing. One translation said, you are God's garden. If you look at somebody's garden, you can tell what they like to eat or what they like to grow. What gives them pleasure in being a part of a garden. You are what God is growing. You, he says it in a different way. This is really the same thing. You are what God is building. The comedian years ago who used to smash watermelons says, wonder why they call them buildings if it's finished. Call it a built. Look at there. Look at that built. He says we call them buildings. If you go over to Cairo in Egypt, we noticed that there was rebar sticking out of a lot of people's homes and things that looks like an unfinished wall. And it was just everywhere we went. We say, what is that all about? We asked our guide. He was from Alexandria. And he said, a politician made a mistake and they have to pay a property tax on their house and their land and their property. They have to pay a property tax on the day that they finish their home. And so everywhere we went, there was rebar sticking up, and I guess the tax collector comes by and says, we're here to get your taxes. He said, no, I'm not done yet. Terrible political mistake, but there you are. You are what God is building. I like that in the line in the psalm. It says, it took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the moon, the sun and the earth, and Jupiter and Mars. It just took him a week. And he's been working on me longer than a week. He must really be making something special. How long has God been working on you? How long has he been building you? I imagine he spent more than a week on most of us. Let's go on, Carter. Look at that. I like that picture. Now, Father's Day was last Sunday. Now, this is kind of like Father's Day too. But this is a continuation of last Sunday's sermon. I like that picture. I believe I could just sit there and just stare at it. I wish that I could watch it, like it was a movie, or I wish I was there. This is the kind of thing that I would just look at it. I like that. Let's look at the next slide there, Carter. I remember being a young father, and I believe I probably look a lot like that guy. I even vaguely remember being able to sit like that. If I tried that now, y'all have to call 911. What's wrong? What's the problem? Our pastor has squatted down, and he can't get up. I can't do that anymore. He even looks comfortable, doesn't he? I'll even tell you something else that you don't want to know. I used to have hairy legs. Now I don't. I'm just look like a caterpillar that's shriveling up, getting ready to, you say, turn into a butterfly? I say, no. Let's look at the next slide there, Carter. My son turned 33 this week. His birthday was the 23rd, and that's him. We rented Camp Helen over in Limestone County when I was at Oak Park Baptist Church. And this is one of the things we did. We did a Karate for Christ demonstration. Used to be able to do that too. That's as high as I can raise my leg now, and that hurts. But that's me and my son, and he was helping me with a karate demonstration. They're in the fellowship hall at Camp Helen. Doing a good job. I remember that. Clearly. Missed that. We don't work out anymore. I don't work out anymore. Next slide there, Art. I have never worn my hat backwards. When I was going to work with my co-workers, some of them do, to which I often directed their attention. Hey, hats on backwards. Your drawers need pulling up, things like that. Just trying to be helpful. But if you wear your hat like that, obviously you can see better than, you have a hat on, and the bill is not in the way. I don't know. Working on some kind of a scooter, I think. Just like that. Working together. Paul says we are co-workers with Christ. Now you know something, don't you? He could fix that. That daddy could fix that, couldn't he? He could fix it. Now tell me about my daddy. I love my daddy. My daddy did the best he could. But he didn't like to do this kind of thing. He'd say, get out of the way. Give me that. You don't know what you're doing. And he'd rather just do it than him and I try to fiddle with it together, or him try to watch me make a mess of things. Here, give me that. So I didn't learn a lot of things that my daddy actually could have shown me how to do. I actually learned to be a pretty good mechanic in spite of the fact that Dad didn't help me any. I remember one day over at my girlfriend's house that I was going to change my spark plugs. Now you ladies, I don't know, y'all might really be car savvy. Let me tell you how not to change your spark plugs. Take every spark plug out at one time and remove all the wires. Do not do that. Do you know that spark plugs don't just fire? There's 8 of them, and I have an 8-cylinder car. They don't just fire, but there's a firing order. Yeah. This one and that one, this one, and so that so if the engine doesn't rock, it's distributed, and they're firing, and you're actually supposed to change one spark plug at a time. My father-in-law helped me figure that out. He knew how to figure out what the firing order was, even before YouTube and Google. what the firing order was on my model car, and he helped me get that thing. I was going to change my spark plugs. So I did out in the shade tree in the Evans backyard. And though he did grin a little bit, he never did laugh out loud. And he was very patient, and he helped me. I was embarrassed, though. I learned a good lesson. Don't you ever think that God needs your help. It's like this. God can do anything. He can just say, let there be this, and there was that. He said, let there be some of this, and there was immediately some of this. God can do anything. He doesn't need your help or mine. But he likes this right here. There's not anything where God says, oh, I don't know how we're going to get this done unless people do it. God has never said that. But he has come and said, okay, let's do this together. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Really? That little boy has no idea. If he's a smart little boy, he'll figure it out later on. He'll remember this. He'll remember that. Him and his daddy working together. Daddies and daughters do this too. Mothers and sons, mothers and daughters, parents. Teach you how to make biscuits. Little boys and little girls can do that. That's not just a girl thing. Teach you how to paint. Teach you how to fix something, make something, how to make your bed, how to pick up your toys, how to create something, how to draw something. Yes, they could do it themselves. Mom could do it. Daddy could do it. And it would get done. It would be done the way it's supposed to be done. And it'd be done quickly. But that's not the point at all. Sometimes I think that you and I think that the most important thing in God's mind is that stuff gets done. And God's not really all that concerned about that. He's really not. You know what God likes more than anything else? This right here. Okay, look at the next slide there, Carter. Here's some questions I thought. Is this going to be level? I don't know. Will it be the correct length? Will it be square? Well, the father's probably going to do everything he can, but if he's going to let this boy participate, just almost anything can happen. But look at the look on that father's a little bit out of focus because the son's in the foreground. He's not worried about how this is going to turn out. Now, if it's a tree house, he's going to make sure that it's safe. And he's probably going to override some things. And he might even come out after the little boy's gone in and lay down for a nap. He can fix some stuff. Yes, he's overseeing this. But right now, right at this very moment, none of these things are important. Let's look at the next slide there, Carter. Now, I want to apply a little bit. Do you think that God would do this right here and then leave the result up to me and you? No. Well, Jesus died on the cross. I sure hope somebody gets saved. Hope it does some good. You know when the Lamb's Book of Life was written? You know what the Bible says when the Lamb's Book of Life was, in other words, the list of everybody saved. You know when that Lamb's Book of Life was written? In eternity past. In eternity past. Jesus said in John 6:37, all that the Father giveth to me shall come to me. All that the Father giveth to me shall come to me. Now, we're co-workers with God on this project right here. But you can't save anybody. I remember the first time I came back from church visitation, and I was really down. Brother Steve Tucker, my pastor, said, what's wrong, Dennis? And I said, I didn't save anybody tonight. And he said, and you never will. You can't save anybody. You can't save anybody, only God. That's what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. He says, you and I can plant and we can water, but only God can give the increase. Only God can save a soul. Only God can change a life. Only God can delve out salvation. He didn't let Jesus die on the cross and said, okay, you guys take this and run with it. I really hope you do well with it. No. He is going to make sure that what needs to be done is done. As it says in Acts chapter 2, verse 47, on that great day of Pentecost, it says, and the Lord added daily to the church, such as should be saved. In other words, the ones that were supposed to get saved that day got saved. He didn't do that and say, boy, I hope this works out, and just kind of like turn it over to us. Y'all take this and do the best you can with it. I hope you reach one or two. No. We're co-workers, co-laborers with Him. But He's going to make sure the job gets done. Next slide there, Carter. Now I want you to look carefully. Look at this again. Look carefully. You may have already looked carefully. Look carefully again. Look at that picture right there. Then I'm going to ask you a trick question. Okay, ready? Get ready. It's a trick question. I want you to say it out loud because I don't want to embarrass you because it's tricky. All right? Look at that right there. I want you to look at the tools that they're using, the instruments of measurement, the safety gear. I want you to look at the materials that they're using right there. Now look at it carefully. Here's the trick question. Look at the next slide there, Carter. What is this man building? That man right there. What is this man building?
A relationship with his child.
He's building a son. He's building a son. Not a deck, not a tree house, not a porch, not a spare bedroom, not an extra bathroom. He's not building a sandbox. He's not building a frame. He's building a son. That's what he's building. You and I think that God is intent, and what He's focused on is a back porch, a spare room, a sunroom, hope chest, picture frame. That God says, this is the goal. This is the end. This is what matters. This is important. We think that that's what God is thinking, but He's not. He's thinking this right here. He's building a son, a daughter, a child. Let's look at the next slide. This is in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago and far, far away. I once was a pastor of a church where the members built buildings. Now all their buildings were built when I became their pastor, already built. They had been built for about 10 years. And during that 10-year period, before I came, that church had declined in every category. In attendance and baptisms, in Sunday school attendance, their budget had gone, every column, every line, everything you can think about. For 10 straight years, there was less and less and less. And then they said, would you come and be our pastor? And I was a pastor of a church that was just growing like a weed. And I had the audacity to think, and I called it faith. Maybe it was, I don't know. But I thought that maybe I could lead that church to grow out of its nosedive, to grow out of its decline. And I did. I stayed there for 10 years. I didn't. I failed. I did not succeed. They had buildings. Let me show you something. Click that mouse there one time, Carter. First thing they built was like a combination fellowship hall and sanctuary. It was kind of a long building, and it had some Sunday school rooms and Sunday school classrooms on each end. Kind of looked like that. Long building, fellowship hall, and they set up, and they would have fellowship in there, meals, gatherings, and parties, receptions, and they had Sunday school rooms that were around it. And then, click it again there, Carl. They built another story to that. It had this building right here had 2 stories, and up on the second story there, they built a fellowship hall and another kitchen. So it became the fellowship hall, and there was a kitchen up there. And so this was exclusively, they didn't have to set it up and take it down, set it up. So this down here just became the sanctuary. It still looked very much like a fellowship hall, though, with a big nice kitchen at one end, classrooms at the other. But they had 2 stories. So they did that for a while, and they were so crowded, so many people were being baptized. They had a baptism down here at the end of the kitchen. You can still, Danny and I have even stood, remember that baptistry? We stood there up behind the kitchen. Baptistry was there. And they were baptizing so many people, and so many people were getting saved, and they were growing. And it was just elbow to elbow, but they had these 2 buildings, and they were just using them the best they could. So then they built another. Click that again there, Carter. And they built Sunday school wing. It came right out of the end of the fellowship hall here. Classrooms, just down both sides, just almost as far as you can see, as far as I can see. Click it again there, Carter. And then when they built that, they built it 2 stories. And so this was Sunday school classrooms all the way down one side, all the way down the other, and it was almost identical in floor plan on the 2nd floor. Sunday school rooms. 2 stories. Big brick, steel, glass building. 2 stories here, 2 stories here. And then finally, they sold church bonds and they built a sanctuary. Click it again there, Carter. I think the administrative wing came next. I'm sorry. This is where the pastor's study was, and the choir, and the office for the different staff members, administrative. It was 1 story. Click it again there, Carter. We need to go on. Then they built a sanctuary. And the sanctuary was monstrously large. It would hold hundreds and hundreds of people. And it had a big balcony right along here, a big balcony. And I remember one time, I hadn't been there very long, I used a ladder and I crawled up into the balcony. They didn't have any stairs. Crawled up in the balcony, and the balcony was just plywood. They never had finished it out. It was a huge balcony that 150 people could sit in the balcony. Sanctuary. It used to be one of the fastest growing and the most influential churches in Morgan County. As I've looked back over the church's history, something was going on at the church just about all the time, and it made the Decatur Daily. You could almost pick up any day of the Decatur Daily and say, this is what this church is doing. They're having this. Some of this is going on. They have some of this out there at that church. It was always doing something, and it was a keynote church in this area. Click that next slide there, Carter. When I came there as pastor, there was just a handful of people there. So many had left over a 10-year period. I was rummaging around one day. I wanted to learn everything. There were rooms I had never even seen before. I had rooms I had never even been in after I'd been there for a long time. And I didn't know this was here. Didn't know that was there. And I found a room that had lots of documents in it, a lot of historical documents. And I found some blueprints. You know what those blueprints were for? More buildings. For another floor on the administrative wing and another 2-story building to be back on the property behind that. Another 2-story building back behind the administrative building. The blueprints were already drawn up. I saw it. I nearly passed out on the floor. And then I hid them. Put them where nobody could find them. Not really. My ultimate solution was just to walk away from all of it. We thought our buildings and our property was worth a lot of money. But everybody who came to talk to us didn't want to pay any money for it at all. Because we were going to sell it and go someplace else. I said, we just need to get out of here. We need to get away from this. Because let me tell you what, we had gotten to a place, they were already there when I got there, of not how can we get the Word of God to the lost? How can we reach our community? How can we, you know what they thought about all the time? How are we going to keep the heater running? How are we going to keep this air? How are we going to replace that air conditioner? The roof is leaking here. What are we going to do? And so every time they got together, they were trying to discuss how can we survive. And they were spending all their energy and all of their efforts and all of their time trying to figure out how can we maintain these buildings and keep them up. I finally came to the conclusion we can't. We can't. I asked them just to walk away from all of it, just to leave it behind. Doesn't that sound insane? Doesn't that sound ridiculous? Let's just go with no money in our pockets, no money in the bank, no promise of anything, no possibility. We just need to get out of here, because so many of the people who were there at the time, they were not the ones who built the buildings. We need to give it to somebody. We need to let somebody have it, or we just need to walk away from it and just leave it sitting there. It doesn't matter if we don't have anything. We may go out and just completely, absolutely fail. And I asked them to do that. And they were not willing to do that. They're probably right. They're probably right. It was foolish. It was foolish. But I couldn't leave them anymore. Click another slide there, Carter. There's a lot more to that story than I told you. But I think we all realize this is not what God wants. This is not what God is interested in. Let me show you some other things very quickly. You might say, well, it does sound like you're not worried in the back porch there, Brother John, or you're not concerned about the tree house. We've got a roof that needs to be put on. It doesn't seem like you're concerned about that at all. Click that next slide there, Carter. Look here. China, which is officially, legally atheist, could have more Christians than the U.S., than the United States by 2030. People are being saved in China like it's going out of style. Let's go to the next slide there, Carter. Now these slides represent articles that are on my Facebook page. If you want to read them, go there and read them. Why more Muslims are turning to Jesus. This is a Newsweek article. Newsweek. Very liberal. Why more Muslims are turning to Jesus. After years of fighting and ignoring Muslims, Christians are turning toward them, and they're winning them to Jesus. Let's look at the next slide. All these are articles. Look, if I were to ask you, where is the fastest growing church in the world? Where is the fastest growing Christian church in the world? It's in Iran. The fastest growing church, despite no buildings. They don't have any buildings at all. And it's mostly led by women. You need to read that article. The fastest growing church in the world is in Iran. Our sworn enemy. That Muslim country that just blow us up without thinking a minute. The largest growing church in the world. All right, go on, Carl, the next slide. This is called China Reach. Christianity is exploding in China. Christianity is exploding in China. All right, next slide, Carl. Mind-blowing statistics about Christianity you need to know. I'm not going to tell you about that article. Mind-blowing. Statistics, numbers that you need to read about Christianity. Go on to the next slide. This is the last one. This is, here are 7 surprising trends in global Christianity in 2019. Now here's the first of those 7. Christianity is growing faster than the population. Listen to that. Let me say it again. Christianity, people are getting saved. More people are getting born again than are being born. More people are being born again. More people are being saved at a faster rate than people are being born physically. That's only the first point. You need to read the rest of it. Jesus died on the cross. Paul says God is the one who gives the increase. But God, we want to help you with this back porch of this deck. God said, that's not what, I'll take care of people getting saved. Because I'm the only one who can do that. Listen, folks, there are more people being saved in the world today, in your lifetime and mine, than have ever received Christ in the history of the church. More people are coming to Christ. The gospel is going farther. The scriptures are being translated in more languages. More people are coming to Christ in my day and in yours than the church has ever witnessed. People are being saved. God is doing His work. And He lets us work with Him. We're co-workers. We're like little boys fiddling around with a tape measure. Got our hard hat on. I'll help you, Daddy. God is doing the work. People are being saved. More people are being saved and coming into the kingdom of God than ever before. You know what it's going to do? You know how the trend is going to go? It's going to continue to increase. More and more and more people are being saved and are going to be saved. Click it, Carter. Listen to what John the Apostle said. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knows us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now we are the children of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. He's growing us up into him. He's making us like him. We're sons and daughters of God. We're children of God. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. You know what God's doing? He's making me a son of God. He's making you a daughter, a child of God. That's what God's doing. That's what God's growing. That's what God's building. Look at that other slide there, Carter. You are what God is growing. You and me. You're what God is building. He's not building a deck or a porch or a roof or a playhouse. He's building you. And if you're not growing, if you're not building, if you're not like a garden and producing the fruit of the Spirit and love, joy, peace, gentleness, and goodness, if those things, if there's not evidence in your life that God is growing you and building you, then you're not interested in the number one thing that God is interested in. The buildings? God says no. Skateboard? The sail? He said no. I'm building you. I'm building you. Let God have his way with you. Rejoice and be happy and glad. You're getting to work with God. And you know what? The whole, whether people go to hell or heaven, doesn't weigh upon your shoulders. Whether they are lost or saved, is not your burden. It can be our concern because we're working with God. But listen, God's going to take care of all of that. You can't save anybody. God giveth the increase. You can plant, like Paul said, or you can water. You can be a co-worker with God. But you need to give up the idea that God is thinking about this kingdom out there, and that's what he's building. He's not building a kingdom. He's building you. That he's growing the church. He's growing the church because you're the church. You're the church. And that's what he's growing. That's what he's building. I don't know if I've ever learned it, but in going places and trips, I always thought that getting there was all that mattered. The destination. I've learned from my family that they like to stop and look at things. They like to see things. They enjoy each other's company. They enjoy the journey. And they enjoy being together in the process of traveling. And I was just miserable because I just wanted to get there. I just want to get there. You know what I want to do when I get there? I want to leave and go back. I want to go home. Danny, come lead us in our hymn of invitation. Is God building you? Is he growing you? Does he have his will and his way in your life? What a wonderful thing that God says, let's make something. And you say, what do you want to make, God? God said, let's make a son, a daughter.